Chase, if you want to start with a general statement.
Yeah, sure. Good to see everybody. As we started this journey several years back, we knew there would be several, if not quite a few milestone days for our football program and sport expansion in general. Today is certainly one of those milestone days as we unveil the renderings and the plans for the Vaquero's Performance Center. I think just the visuals themselves paints the picture that this is transformational for our athletics program. Obviously, for our football program, giving them a primary home, a place that they will live and work and train as student athletes and coach and mentor as a coaching staff. But this is also to serve our entire athletics department. When you look at the square footage that we're going to be able to add, the space for our student athletes, over 45,000 square feet. That's going to give us opportunities to take care of so many of our programs. Again, give a great home to our football program. And we've got good facilities in place. We've got other projects that we're working on. This is part of over $80 million in an investment that we're making right now in capital projects for UTRGV athletics. But when you look at the interior and the functions that are inside of this facility, not just great meeting space and locker room space and coaches' offices, but we're going to have a state-of-the-art weight room that our football program and our other student athletes will have the opportunity to utilize, enhance our sports medicine and athletic training coverage with a state-of-the-art sports medicine facility. And then something that's very important and making sure that the student is always first with our student athletes is going to be a state-of-the-art academic success center for our football program and for other student athletes here at UTRGV. So to say that we're excited would be an understatement. Excited to publicly unveil these plans that we shared this morning, and ready to put a shovel in the ground. And that day will come sooner than later. But excited to be able to announce this milestone day for our football program, but for UTRGV athletics as a whole.
All right, Ray, you were first in the Zoom room today. You get the first question.
Thank you, Jonah. Hello, Chase. Good afternoon. For you, on a personal level, to have multiple projects going on at this time, this one for football, just how much weight does this get carried off your back to get this facility going? Because I know you've got the renovation of the UTRGV field house, you got the locker rooms coming for soccer track and field complex getting constructed. For you, just how much does this one mean to you to get this one going off the ground?
Yeah, I appreciate you listing all the projects there, Ray, and all of them are very special and important to us and important to each of our current 16 programs, football making 17, and eventually women's swimming and diving making 18. We've got there's a couple of things here. One, we have an incredible team here at our institution and within the athletics department that helps oversee the construction of these projects. John Evans is our senior associate AD for operations and facilities, and he is hands-on every day as we work through the process of building out these really important facilities. I wouldn't say it's a sigh of relief yet, Ray. I think that's going to be the day that we open the doors to each of these facilities and allow our student athletes, our coaches, and in some of these venues, our fans come back in and see the renovations or see the new facilities that we're constructing. But it is a sigh of relief that we're hitting the mark. And as we talk about this journey and the process of getting to kickoff in 2025, there are certain marks and milestones that we knew and that we know that we're going to have to hit. And this is a big one, making sure that we've got a permanent home on our campus for our student athletes to utilize as we go into fall competition in 2025. So from that standpoint, very pleased, but I think the real sigh of relief will come when we open those doors and all of our student athletes, fans, coaches, and staff are able to enjoy the investment that we're making.
And one final question I wanted to ask you. Yesterday, there was a report that came out in the college AD that the ASun and WAC have taken one more step to solidify that football conference. Can you just elaborate on how that process is going right now as the things get ready to get geared for you guys in 2025 when football program comes around?
Yeah, really excited about the football league and the consortium of institutions and football programs that we have. When you look at the 10 football playing institutions, the 6 from the Western Athletic Conference and the 4 from the ASun, those are great institutions to be aligned with, and they value athletics, but certainly place a value and a premium on Division I college football. Having Oliver Luck as our guiding light and executive director as we formalize this conference and this affiliation is very important. I think Oliver brings great experience, but also great credibility to what we're trying to do as a conference. And a benefit for us is Oliver knows UTRGV. He was a part of the early discussions as the football feasibility study was conducted several years back. So to be in a position and be a part of a conference that we will be a part of in 2025 with the 9 other institutions, that's a great place for us to be in as an athletics program and a football program. And you look at the geographical span between the Utah institutions that are part of the WAC to the tradition-rich programs of Central Arkansas, Eastern Kentucky, Austin Peay, and North Alabama. It's going to be one heck of a football league.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Jay. So obviously from the news release, so the plan is for the fields to be ready for the 2024 practice season, and then the facility to be done by 2025 for the start of the inaugural football season. So can you elaborate about that timeline and how you guys hope to have this thing ready for when you guys are ready for that practice year and ultimately ready to kick off in 2025?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. And they're on the same timeline, but one's expedited, and that's the fields. We know that we're going to have anywhere from 65 to 80 student athletes a part of that practice year within our football program. And so making sure our fields are ready, small things, one will be artificial turf, the other will be a natural grass surface. And so we also have to hit the timing right to make sure we're taking advantage of the growing season for that natural grass on that other field. And so we could see construction possibly starting a little bit earlier on the practice fields before we put a shovel in the ground for the Vaquero's Performance Center to hit the timeline, to be ready for summer next year, to allow for that growing season to really have an effect on the natural surface. What you see now, we have a portable building out there right now for our coaches' offices. That's where Coach Bush and his staff right now are housed. That's where our coaches will be housed until we move into the Vaquero's Performance Center. And then what you'll see over the next year is another portable or temporary building that will house our football program until the Vaquero's Performance Center is finished. But we knew that the practice fields were important first to make sure that they were ready to go here on campus by the summer of 24, ready for fall camp and practice year fall of 24.
And then last one from me. As far as the design goes, I mean, Coach Bush has been in a lot of college locker rooms and performance facilities and things like that, and obviously spent some time in the NFLs. And so, as a team, what was the building process like of kind of building this facility, as far as all the necessities that go into running a Division I college football program, and how you guys kind of built this thing as a team?
Yeah, it's been in multiple phases. This will be of interest. Our initial pencil to paper on this facility started back in late 2019, early 2020, and so as we were looking at our athletics facilities master plan, knowing that football was hopefully part of our future, we talked about our football facility, which then later became and evolved into the Vaquero's Performance Center. So we've been working on this for several years, and there's been several additions and renderings and plans that we've looked at and massaged over the last couple of years. And you also observe what's out there in the landscape. You see what, the question about our football conference affiliation, you see what they have done at some of these institutions at Tarleton State, and the renovations they've made at Austin Peay, the new football stadium they're planning at North Alabama. You see what they've done and what they continue to do with these other institutions, and you want to make sure that we're going to put something in place and finish with a product that we can be proud of, and that gives us a good recruiting advantage and truly supports and helps our program. And then we hired Coach Bush, and we were able to really jump in quick, at the turn of the calendar back in January, and start looking at what we had designed and getting his input, and making sure that as he visualized walking through this building, his student athlete, his staff, it's different when you're the end user and you're going to live in this every day. And so having his input and of course, his expertise, like you mentioned, other facilities that he's been a part of and has lived in and worked in, being able to pull all that together and come up with what our final plan will be. It's really been a good process, and it's been nice to be able to work on it over time, and then have his help and his input to put the finishing touches here before we break ground.
Thank you.
Yeah, so touching on what you said about the construction and the renovations, do you think we'll be on par with other D1 schools in terms of the performance center?
Yeah, really appreciate that question. Absolutely. This facility puts us in a kind of in a different league within the Division I landscape and the Division I FCS landscape. It will be one of the nicest facilities in the country. I think we've been wise with the way that we're going to use our space. I think we've been wise in the way that we're going to have the ability to take care of other programs and be able to utilize this really across the athletics program. But I can also tell you, I know Coach Bush is very excited to get to this day to where he can start sharing this, with the world of college athletics, on the recruiting trail with prospective student athletes, because I think when people digest what's being constructed on the north side of our campus here, it's going to be impressive to them. So absolutely, I think this will not only serve our program well, but puts us in really good shape across the landscape of college athletics.
Yeah, I have another question about also touching on what you said about it being not just for football, other programs will be using it. You mentioned an academic space, I guess, for maybe helping the football players.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Can you expand a little on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be our academic success center, and it's not a new concept to our department. We have a victory center on the heart of our Edinburgh campus that serves as the academic success center for our student athletes. So this will give us another space. That space is perfect and suitable for an athletics department of our size today with 16 sports. But as we grow and we go from 250 or 60 student athletes to 410, 20 plus student athletes, we need additional space. And so this facility will serve as a computer lab. It'll have tutoring rooms. It'll have academic advisor and their staff on hand to help our student athletes, not just from our football program, but from other sports as well. And as we build, whether it be academic success center or an additional weight room or another sports medicine facility, we currently have those facilities within our portfolio today. And some of them are going to be newly constructed projects here in the next 6 months or 12 months. But having that large facility on the north side of campus, it lessens the load and the demand on some of these facilities. And so we're able to serve our other programs better by having another weight room, another academic success center, another athletic training room. So all of those services are very, very important to the student athlete experience here at UTRGV. And having that part of the Vaquero's Performance Center is going to make our entire department better.
Yeah, I had another question about where did the funding come from for the Performance Center?
Yeah, this project's going to be funded by the revenue streams in the athletics department. We're very proud of that. We are still raising funds for this project. There are great naming opportunities, and we think we'll have some really good success there working with our supporters and our donors to continue to raise revenues to support this facility. But you got to start with our Football Founders Society. 1.7 million has been committed by that group of 34 families and individuals. You look at our revenue streams as we sit here today, and corporate sponsorships and ticket sales, and then general just fundraising outside of the Football Founders Society. All those record streams, all those revenue streams are at record levels. So all those are really good indicators of where we're headed. And then you look at season ticket sales and deposits for football. We announced maybe 5-6 weeks ago that we had hit the 1,000 mark. As we sit here today, we have nearly 1,700 season tickets sold for football. And so these projects will all be paid for with the revenue streams within the department. And that's something we're certainly proud of.
I see the rendering, and there's a lot of empty space surrounding that football and those 2 practice fields. Is there a plan for other athletic stuff to go up around there, or do you have any idea of what might be built there in the future?
Yeah, and we're working on the final placement right now. You may see that shift a little bit to the west. They're a little bit closer to Sugar. But we're still finalizing that piece. We own a considerable amount of acreage there north of the baseball stadium as an institution, right? And so that's an institutional presidential level decision on where you allocate the land within the footprint and the land we continue to acquire around campus. That's great real estate for us, as a university. And as we all know, the growth of the Valley, the growth of Edinburgh, it's not slowing down. And so whether that becomes future use for athletic facilities and projects, or if there's other things that we want to put academically up there, it gives us great options. And so we're going to be very careful with how we place the VPC and the practice fields to make sure that we can maximize that land north of the baseball stadium.
Mm-hmm. And then as you guys were planning the construction of this and the renderings, were there any specific schools that you kind of looked at as far as what they were building and how they went about things when you guys decided to plan out the fields and the VPC?
Yeah, it's probably a lot of different and different people around the table that have different experiences and exposure to different facilities. You don't have to go far. I mean, what Sam Houston State has retrofitted into their end zone facility, that's something that we certainly studied and we were mindful of. Not necessarily a new facility, but they retrofitted their field house there at Bauer Stadium. Prairie View A&M, when you look at what Prairie View has constructed, their stadium there, their end zone facility, there's several throughout the state. I know I mentioned Tarleton. They've invested big in their football program and operations center. But even looking at things like University of Houston, looking at the race, the center that was built at UTSA, all of those are helpful. And then you got to figure out what's important to us. And for us, one thing that we committed to our students is that we're going to play in an existing facility, and our competitions would be an existing facility here in the Rio Grande Valley. And so it allowed us to really focus on where our student athletes are going to live and train day to day. And so we got to really emphasize some of the spaces within the VPC, whether it be the team meeting space, the weight room, the different functions that we've already talked about. But we looked at a lot of different facilities across the landscape, and really you don't have to go far from Edinburgh throughout the state of Texas to see some really, really nice ones that have been constructed just in the last couple of years.
One thing I wanted to ask is, a lot of times when the planning goes into these types of projects, there's a wish list, there's a needs list, and then there's kind of like a reality list based on funding or based on the reality of the space, etc. Are there things in this project that didn't get put in, or are there things that you wish you could have done more, or did everything on y'all's wish list kind of come to fruition with this?
It's a great question there, and I think to your point, recognizing the cost of construction just in the last couple of years, we've seen that, whether it be in just higher education or throughout the districts, hospitals. I mean, everything that you build today, even on our personal homes, the cost of construction has increased substantially. Right now, we have everything in there that we want within the facility. At some point, Alex, I would love to be able to come back and cover that turf practice field to give some protection for our student athletes that will use that field. That wouldn't necessarily make it an indoor facility, but to be able to have a cover to get outside the elements, and not so much the rain like we have today, but more importantly, the sun and the heat. But at this point within the facility itself, we've been able to include everything to this point that we've wanted to. And you may hear this from Coach Bush, as we really get to the point of breaking ground and finalizing everything. And this is one thing I appreciate about Coach. If anything's got to be cut or addressed, which I don't think that's going to be the case for us, he wants to make sure we're always protecting the student athlete areas. So the locker room, the weight room, the academic success center, the training room. And so as we go into the decision-making process, he's really helped us emphasize that and shape that of what are the priorities are going to be the spaces that our student athletes will touch each and every day.
Second thing, Chase, that area in an old master plan of the university, the area where you're building this was kind of an area kind of designated for potential football if it ever happened, and even an on-campus stadium. Does this facility kind of preclude that, or has that master plan of the university changed to where you guys know you're going to be playing off campus, so to speak, and that gave you room to maybe make this facility a little bit bigger? Can you speak to any of that?
Yeah. I think the first thing I would start with, never say never, right? And the good thing is we've got great facilities right now that we can utilize and that we can compete in and be happy to compete in. The master plan for the institution, those things, they change over time, but I think it is the point you make that was protected for athletics expansion at some point. I think it shows that master plans do matter, and eventually they do come, find their way becoming into fruition. And certainly that's been the case for UTRGV. Can't predict the future, of when or if an on-campus facility would be constructed. But knowing that we have the land up there to do that, and certainly a space with some infrastructure investment there, from the surrounding roads and working with the city, it could be a great place to build an on-campus stadium. But right now we're committed to playing in existing facilities, and obviously our commitment to playing in Brownsville is also very important to us. So, but it is neat when you look back and you see where the master plan had kind of this space designated, and then you see this come to fruition. It shows that it was a perfect place for us to put this facility.
And just a real quick, go ahead, Chase.
Well, I was going to say another thing too that's important, Alex, is our footprint. We are spread out across campus. With West Campus, we have our track and field complex, and that serves 8 of our programs with men's and women's soccer, track and field, and cross country. But the field house, we've really brought some things in here with our new weight room, the investment we're making in the field house and our basketball program and volleyball programs. And then you've got baseball and football and the VPC, and also a tight footprint. So that was also something we looked at is how can we keep our facilities either clustered together or in clusters to where that it makes some sense where we place our facilities moving forward. So that was another reason why we picked this location.
And just a real quick follow-up on something you said earlier about enclosing it. You're not talking about bubbling one of those practice fields. You're talking more like some sort of covering down the road type of thing.
Yeah, a covering. And an example, I believe UAB did that with one of their fields and did it really well. It still allows for good airflow and ventilation, but it gets you that protection from the elements and certainly from the sun that we can benefit from. But maybe down the road, that's something that we could add.
Gotcha. Thank you, Chase.
You bet.
Todd Lowry, I mean, I know this is a football facility thing, but I just wanted to get a quick comment from you on renewing volleyball head coach at Todd Lowry, and how fast did you get that done, and did you get it done in a timely manner?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question. And yes, our feet were moving fast, and certainly when you have the kind of success that we had this year, you want to celebrate that, but you also want to make sure you're taking care of business. And our head coach of any program, and certainly those that are having great success, it's a very important role to sustaining success. So excited to have Coach locked in for multiple years. Appreciate what he's done, not just at our institution, but our legacy institution. Todd is a winner, and this fall carried that tradition. And I'm hoping that Todd and I have the chance to work together for many years to come, and look forward to seeing what our squad will look like this fall, and what he'll continue to accomplish for our program here in the future.
Thank you.